And basically what it entails is filtering your oil and getting out the water. I get the oil from restaurants, and getting the fuel up to at least 160 degrees before it gets to your injectors. And to do that, I teed off from my coolant lines here, which come over here. This is my veggie filter, and I also have a diesel filter. You have to separate the systems. And I also have a veggie tank and a diesel tank. And here the coolant lines wrap around the filter, get the filter nice and hot, then go back, and the coolant lines go all the way back to the veggie tank with the vegetable oil running through a separate line inside the coolant, which heats it up as well. And then inside my tank I have copper tubing. The coolant line tees off back there and runs through the vegetable oil tank, which heats up the tank as well. So the vegetable oil here is coming out of the hose within a hose that has coolant, and this is the fuel pickup here. The coolant lines tee off and go inside the tank in the copper tubing, which works as a heat exchanger and heats up the tank. So this is the first step in the heating, and then it goes inside the coolant lines to the engine, which picks up even more heat. So you have the tank heating up. On the way to the engine, it's heating up through the hose within a hose, which is how it's called. Then it comes to the heated filter, heats up a bit more, and then the final heat exchanger is your injector lines, which get really hot just from the heat of the engine. And so as the fuel is going through those lines, it heats up even more. And basically, in a nutshell, you heat your fuel up to at least 160 degrees, your vegetable oil, and it's good to go. You can run your engine on the vegetable oil. The other trick is, so you have to start your car on either diesel or biodiesel until it gets up to operating temperatures and the vegetable oil is hot enough. Once it's at operating temperature, then you switch over to your vegetable system. Before you shut down, you have to flush the system out with diesel. So you switch back over to diesel, it flushes all the vegetable oil out, and then you shut down and you're good to go for the next time you want to start it. And that's pretty much the basics.
What was the cost of the conversion?
If you do the system on your own, parts between $200 and $300 if you use a cheap plastic tank, and then probably 4 to 6 hours of time to put it all together. And there's also commercially available do-it-yourself kits, which start at $600 and go upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 depending on how fancy you want to get. So it has about 10% less power and economy than regular diesel fuel. So I personally, when I switch over to vegetable, I see no change in my power. But that's the science behind it. And so pretty much you'll get the gas mileage that your car already had. This Rabbit gets about 40 miles a gallon on diesel, and I also probably get 38 to 40 miles per gallon on vegetable oil.
What are you paying per gallon?
I get my vegetable oil for free from restaurants, but I buy filters and things like that. So there's a little cost involved, but definitely it's way cheaper than buying diesel fuel.
So I'm all about, resisting any more fossil fuel development. Not, for many reasons there is to resist it, but primarily because we have as much gas as we need right under our fingertips with the resources and the waste products that we already are using. For instance, biogas generators creates methane. It is methane. When with all the manures and small farms and wastewater treatment plants and all this sort of stuff, we can be creating what large corporations want to find and dig out of the earth, causing all the ecological problems that you could find. So this is a schematic of how a small farm, small family biogas unit would work. And here you have this is a Chinese design, so we call it the water closet, right adjacent with the kitchen, which is normal. But instead of going to a septic or a downstream wastewater treatment, it goes right into an anaerobic biogas digester. It's a hydraulic displacement, so as fluid and solids flow into it, fluid and solids flow out the other side. And then it goes to an oxidation, the effluent goes to an oxidation pond, where then goes a secondary treatment where all your nitrites and your unstable ammonia, nitrogen, is transformed into nitrates, which is stable, and it's something that plants can utilize. From there, it would flow into your next, it would go right onto your fields or even into fish ponds and things like that. And then back to the digester, your biogas, which is 60 to 70% methane and 30 to 40% carbon dioxide, that can be run directly into water heaters, lamps, rice cookers, stoves, any sort of hot water heating thing, space heating, whatever you would use gas for. And it's created daily. As much as you feed it, it's going to create. And it works really well for a small integrated farming model. So, for instance, I've got this thing here that says, troubled about gas in your backyard. If we don't build it, someone else will. So, I think as I'm speaking to the opportunity to start creating our own resources, in this case particularly biogas and methane. It's a good loop.